Hey everybody, I just wanted to wish everyone a really Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and to do a little update for my channel. I finally finished my Christmas stocking, definitely in time for Christmas, and it was a lot of fun to knit. And I just wanted to show what the final project looks like while we have some sun coming through the window. And it was just so cool knitting with this yarn, and I got so excited that I went ahead and ordered some more of this yarn. They have a nice, pretty yellow red that actually pairs really well with this red here that I went ahead and bought, and they have a darker green. And so I'm going to knit this up again and have another stocking, same thing. I just got so excited about knitting with this yarn that I'm going to knit another one. So anyways, I didn't do my soak in the wash, so I don't know if the red bleeds or not, and I don't know what it's going to look like after I wet block it and all of that, but I'm super happy with the way it turned out. I mentioned in my last video that I modified the pattern so that I didn't have to use super tiny needles to do the foot, and so there's some trade-offs. One is that I got a very pointy toe. It's because I used really skinny yarn and tinier needles, so that's okay. It's no big deal for me. I'm going to put little jingle bells on the bottom, but I learned a lot from doing this stocking, and I think if I knit it again, I noticed that my gauge was much looser up to about here, and then it got tighter, and then it got even tighter. So I have to be more mindful of that, and I definitely think using the bigger needles, I doubled the decreases. I think I should do a different decrease method and get a lot more decreases into this space, or have a different kind of gusset for this foot, and I'm gonna look forward to figuring that one out, because I kind of want to morph this into my own pattern and figure out how to put different pattern repeats into the leg portion of the stocking and eventually design my own foot. So I'm totally committed to Christmas stocking knitting. I just want to make a bunch of these, and I think it was a really fun emotional experience for me. It just brought back so many happy holiday memories. It's such a nice thing to focus on right now, and so I'm definitely going to be focusing on Christmas for the next couple of months, I think. So in that case, I'm just going to just show you that I've got some more yarn on order in case people are interested for my next video. I have a Christmas pattern from Rama for a stocking, which I will show you. And it's very, very old-fashioned. And it's there's 3 stocking patterns that come in here. It's their stocking trio number 1, and I was thinking the different motifs in here could be interchangeable, and I really like the idea of a gingerbread man and the snowmen and the snowflakes, but maybe take out the hearts. So I'm going to have some fun with that. This is done in a DK weight yarn. So the cool thing about that is Brooklyn Tweed has a nice DK yarn that's rather soft. It's their Arbor yarn. And this skein just came in the mail. It was a retired color called Wreath. And I am really excited because I like this green. It's a nice, bright, cheerful green. And I'm really looking forward to knitting this with that pattern. So I'm waiting for another shop to deliver the red and the white and the brown skein so I can knit that stocking pattern. So when I get it started on the needles and I get some progress, I definitely want to do a yarn review. I think I'm going to find that this is very similar to the Piri yarn. It does look and feel already like the Piri yarn just from holding the skein in my hand. And I'll just kind of give my thoughts on what I think about this yarn. It's one of those yarns that doesn't have a lot of drape. So it's stiffer, and it makes you it's a bigger workout with your hands. So I'm kind of curious what needles I'm going to order and buy to use. I think I'm going to have to get the Signature Needle Arts, because that was the needle brand that I had the most success with when I used the Piri yarn. And I'll probably just order like a US 4 needle with a 16-inch cable from them. So then I wanted to show you guys something cool that came in the mail. This Rama pattern here. I saw Scandier Knits do a super fun Christmas video this year where she knit this pattern, and my understanding is that this had to be bought as a kit with the yarn, and when I went to the Rama website it did, but nobody was offering this as a kit in the United States. But I did, in terms of online searches, I couldn't find anything, but I did find this from Norskein, Norskein. They're in the United States, and they are a retail or reseller of Rama products, and they were selling this as a standalone pattern. So I was super excited because when I saw these motifs, I immediately thought I wanted to use them in a Christmas stocking, and I thought, how cool is that? So once I got it and I studied it, I definitely agreed with her and what she said on the video. This pattern does seem a little obtuse. It's not super straightforward. Granted, I've never knit a raglan sleeve Fair Isle sweater before, but I think it's something that you may have to have done before in order to kind of have a sense for how it should go, because I didn't find the instructions super intuitive on my first read. But if I can figure it out, or maybe I could pay someone to help me figure it out, I would definitely love to knit this sweater one day. I love this. I would love to make it with a zipper front and have it as a fun cardigan for this time of year. But I also discovered a different purpose for this pattern, which I'm kind of totally excited about. So I thought that would be the last thing I would share for my quick video update. I have this pattern that I've been working on, and I shared this in a previous video. And when I first saw this pattern, my immediate thought was, oh, that's like hot cocoa and candy canes and a vintage 50s Christmas vibe to it. It kind of made me feel like, oh, that could be so fun to knit up to Christmas. And when I got all the yarn, it was definitely not, it's just the photography was not really super reflective of the yarn. So anyways, these are the colors here. And I've been staring at this and trying to figure out what to do with this. Should I go with it or do something else? And I decided to just keep going with it. And to make a long story short, the designer was inspired by the Northern Lights when she chose this color palette. And the yarn for the cardigan here is supposed to be Shetland Supreme, which is an undyed natural wool, which is super cool in concept. And unfortunately, it was sold out all across the United States online. And so because I was anxious to knit this sweater, I thought, I don't know when it'll be back in stock. Let's just go for another yarn brand. So I bought this Loup Petite lamb's wool, and I believe this is charcoal gray. I will document the exact color on my Ravelry account, which is Scottish Bunny, and I will make sure I document that. But to make a long story short, I just bought the quantity I needed to knit the background. This color here is more of a dark, it's close to Shetland black from the Shetland yarn, but it has a lot of brown undertones in it. And this is more of a gray tweed kind of, not tweedy, but it's black. It's a deep charcoal gray with you can see the white showing through it. So anyways, I decided, okay, let's go for it and do that. And then my goal was to look for a yoke design with a cardigan construction, and I felt that I found that with this sweater, and I definitely felt that this sweater had the potential to be a template for all kinds of other colorwork patterns to go inside. And so I can't imagine myself knitting all this plain colored areas, so I decided to incorporate these motifs into the body of this sweater, and I felt like they would work because it's all winter themed. And when I look at the charted design, the largest motif here has 13 stitches from bottom to top, and this one has from bottom to top it ranges from I believe 9 to 11 stitches. So I believe the motifs will be consistent in size with the motifs here on the sweater. And I thought why not just do that in black and off-white. So I've got the Shetland off-white with the Le Petit lamb's wool in this dark charcoal. And you know what? I'm assuming that it will work because I don't expect it to be too busy, and I think these are so neutral that I don't think they're going to be fighting with the purples. I really think it's all going to work out just fine, and I really didn't spend a ton of time thinking through it, but I've spent enough time thinking through it to kind of ask myself, am I really going to be happy with it? Is it going to be worth knitting? And I think absolutely so. I just kept going with it, and I'll show you the results I have so far. And this is what the yarn is. I've done the ribbing, and then I've done the first border motif, and this is where the sweater normally would just end with the color work, and then I'm supposed to go down the smaller needle size and build up with plain knitting with one color. I'm just going to do my reindeer and the trees and the stars and just kind of do the whole thing in black and white, or black and charcoal gray and off-white, up to the yoke section, and just have fun with this sweater. I wasn't feeling very well when I did the ribbing because we lost my best friend, buddy, our little family pet at home. And so I was just really heartbroken, and I decided that even though this ribbing didn't come out that great, I'm going to keep it because it has some really special memories in the stitches, and it'll always make me feel really close to our bunny. So I'm just going to leave them in and just embrace the homemade nature of how that ribbing looks. And I did use the Le Petit lamb's wool for the ribbing, and I wanted to mention something that I learned from working on the Christmas stocking. These two yarns are a different gauge, and what I've found is that they both go from thick to thin, the Le Petit lamb's wool and the Jamieson and Smith. And so they do both go from thick to thin, and that surprised me because I wasn't expecting that with this yarn. However, overall, this is a thinner gauge yarn than this yarn. And it does vary because this skein is thinner than this skein, which is the frustration of the Shetland wool, but I do think it's a part of a lot of rustic wool brands, and I'm not exactly sure why. I have one theory, but the point I'm trying to make is that what I discovered with the Christmas stocking is that if you have two brands of yarn and they both go from thick to thin, but overall this is thinner than this yarn, then stick to one for the background and the other for the foreground if you're going to mix brands. And what I found from the stocking is that it was looking better if I used the thinner gauge yarn as the background and the thicker gauge yarn as the foreground. And the reason why I say that, my son is filming this for me and I'm wearing a blankie to stay warm today, sorry about that. So the reason why I say that is because when I did the opposite and I used the thicker gauge yarn, in this case the white, it really made the project start to ripple. And so by using the thinner gauge yarn in the background, I can kind of be in control more of the overall size of the finished item, and the motif colors with the thicker yarn looked fine to me. But I thought the reverse looked less okay. So I'm sure it's just preference. So that's how I'm deciding to roll with this. So anyways, that's how I'm going to move forward, and this is how far I've gotten. And I hope to offer some more excitement because I am excited. I'm looking forward to knitting this because I don't like stockinette knitting in plain colors, and I kind of get the whole two-in-one here. So all the fun and excitement in this sweater and this sweater, I'm going to merge them together. And I'm totally excited that I'm going to be able to fill in this area with colorwork. I don't know how the sleeves are going to go because I'm not sure how that's going to work, getting all the motifs to line up. And I'm just going to think about that later, to be honest. And I like to solve problems, and I like having problems to solve. So it may not be solvable. That's okay. I'm just going to keep going because I get really bored. I think I would die of boredom if I didn't have colorwork. It's the point of knitting for me, so that's what I'm going to do. I was hoping to have more progress to share with some other Christmas knitting that I had in my wish list, and I thought I would just show you guys some really cool yarn that I got to do the Advent mittens. This is the Kama Rose Yaku yarn, and I really like this color of gray and this beautiful off-white and this red, and I wanted to do a yarn review on this yarn because it has some really nice qualities and some other qualities that are just something to keep in mind. And I was hoping to do all these little Advent mittens from the pattern I talked about in my last video, but I haven't even gotten started yet. You have to start with a Latvian braid, and I found a great video for that, and it's super easy. It's just a bunch of purl stitches. But this yarn is very slippery, and so what I realized is that I started it, and I noticed that the metallic needles are too slippery, and the knitting doesn't look good, so I got to get out my wooden double-pointed needles and figure out which of the brands that I own is going to work best with this slippery yarn. So I went with the classic Norwegian Christmas colors, and I can hardly wait to see what this looks like. And if I don't end up knitting those Advent mittens, Pia Kamabornia came out with the funnest, cutest hat pattern for her mystery knit along for Christmas this year. If you go to her video, it is absolutely adorable, and I think these colors would work really well. And when I looked at her hat, I was thinking how adorable it would be to add a border area of these reindeer inside her hat. So anyways, maybe that's how I'll end up using this yarn. I just wanted to take a break from hat knitting because I've made so many, and that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to go for a sweater, because I can't make any more hats for a while. Oh, by the way, for the week of New Year's, I'm going to pull out every hat I ever knit over the last 2 years and show everybody everything all in one video, and someone had made that request, so I thought it would be really fun to do that and talk about all the learning that you do when you focus on one garment type over, you know, a couple of winters in a row. One final thought I was thinking I could mention for new knitters who are looking at sweater patterns and thinking how to make modifications. This was super, super interesting learning that I went through with this sweater. I won't show the chart, but I've never seen a charted design in colorwork like the one that's in this pattern. Her repeat doesn't go into the total number of stitches and it doesn't work out. And so the way she gets around that is she adds some background stitches in the beginning, and if you go around at the end, to get her repeat to fit into the garment, which was so clever. And that's what I ended up doing with these reindeer. So the 8-stitch repeat for the reindeer doesn't fit evenly into the total number of stitches, so all I had to do was add 1 stitch to the total number of stitches, and then start with 3 stitches in background and end with 3 stitches in background, and it was it was perfect. And every one of these motifs are all 8-stitch pattern repeats, every single one. So it makes it super easy to slot into a stocking or a hat or a sweater. So it was a super, super fun Christmas themed pattern to own. So the Norskin people who mailed this to me were so very nice. I told them I've had a lot of problems with mail being delivered and rained on, and the mailman doesn't care and everything gets bunched up, and I really, really wanted this pattern to stay nice. So they put it inside of a plastic bag, inside of a cardboard envelope, and they got it out to me, and it just arrived in pristine condition. So what a nice company. They did such a great job accommodating all of my requests. So I'm very excited, and I really do hope one day to knit this pattern. So it was designed for Rama Me Too, and I believe it's a DK weight yarn. It says 3.5 millimeter, 4.5 millimeter needles. They're saying the so US 4 and 7. So I think it's DK, but I don't have it written down, so I'm not exactly sure, but I do believe that's DK. So anyways, I wish I could understand the directions because I'd love to make that sweater too. But anyways, I guess I'll leave off for now. This is a much longer video than I intended, and I just want to wish everybody a really enjoyable, peaceful New Year. Things here in California are really crazy. They stopped ambulance services about a week and a half before Christmas, and ICU capacity is always at the breaking point. It's touch and go every day. We're pretty convinced the new variant of the virus is here locally too. It hasn't been officially reported on. They're doing studies in the county adjacent to my county, and I'm sure we're going to find out that that's here. So we're just bunkering down and hunkering down and just focusing on trying to stay in this holiday, knitting inside the cabin in the woods kind of vibe that we're trying to create for ourselves. So I just wish everyone to stay very, very safe. And I just wanted to thank all the wonderful knitters on YouTube who are putting out so much inspirational information and stories and beautiful holiday messages for everyone to enjoy. And I just wanted to make my contribution to that effort. So anyways, I really hope everyone had a great Christmas and has a lovely New Year, and that everybody stays safe. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to doing another update sometime after the New Year's.